Victory of the Daleks is often thought of as Moffat's biggest misstep with the Daleks. It's a story that appears very early in his tenure as showrunner, as well as Matt Smith's tenure as the 11th Doctor, and it's responsible for giving us this. Multicoloured, plus-sized Daleks. They didn't really work. However, for me, this episode was probably the only time Moffat got the Daleks right. Let me preface by saying that for better or worse, Moffat was a good showrunner, and sometimes even a great one. He's responsible for some of the best New Who stories of all time, and that shouldn't be forgotten. So I'm not coming from a perspective that languishes in hating him, quite the contrary. However, Moffat's handling of the Daleks was too contradictory to not only the continuity of the first revival seasons, but the character of the Doctor himself. Following Victory of the Daleks, the problem only seems to get worse. Let's take a quick retrospective on the Daleks' implementation into the revival era. We first see a Dalek in the 2005 episode, Dalek, and here we get the first impression of how this New Who iteration of the Doctor reacts to the alien menace.
I demand orders!
They're never gonna come! Your race is dead! You all burn, all of you. 10 million ships on fire. The entire Dalek race wiped out in 1 second.
You lie!
I watched it happen. I made it happen!
This sequence is important, as it establishes the seismic shift the Doctor feels whenever he comes into contact with them. It's clear that this Doctor finds even the sight of one Dalek to be incredibly traumatic and harrowing in a way we've never quite seen before. And then we are provided with context for this, the Time War. This is explained as a war between the Time Lords and Daleks across all of time and space, having ramifications for the entire universe, the war to end all wars. The Doctor's post-Time War PTSD is probably the single biggest defining piece of continuity separating the old series and the new. It's consistently handled well and utilised in a satisfactory way across the Russell T Davies era, Moffat's predecessor. The Daleks themselves, of course, play no small part in this. Cut to the season 1 finale, Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways, and we see the Doctor even more horrified to see the Daleks as a fully established war machine. In season 2, we are introduced to the Cult of Skaro, a special division of Daleks tasked with thinking outside the box to come up with new ways to kill the universe. Across their 2 appearances, we're shown the lengths the Daleks will go to survive the Time War, just as the Doctor has. In both instances, they slip away before he can destroy them and seek any sort of closure. At this point, you've probably noticed a running theme. Whenever the Daleks show up, they are established as survivors of the Time War, just like the Doctor. A nice parallel. And whenever said alien menace comes into contact with the Doctor, he makes it his unabashed objective to destroy them once and for all. This hunger for murder, the willingness to use weaponry and go above and beyond his established moral code, is interesting, and it helps to establish why the Daleks are such a threat. Cybermen, Silurians, Sontarans, he's shown across the series as being capable of showing them mercy, sympathy, and even respect. But the Daleks, for the post-Time War Doctor, the Daleks are irredeemable. And that means we get brilliant moments like this.
Just let me try. Daleks? Ain't we the same? Underneath? Ain't we all kin? Prez, see, I've just discovered this past day that God's universe is 1,000 times the size I thought it was. And that scares me. Oh, yeah. Terrifies me. Right down to the bone. But surely it's got to give me hope. Hope that maybe together we can make a better tomorrow. So I beg you now, if you have any compassion in your hearts, then you'll meet with us and stop this fight. Well, what do you say?
Exterminate!
That entire speech is pure unfiltered doctoring. That's a speech that in any other episode would have been his. But because it's the Daleks, he doesn't bother. He's sure there's everything there is to know about them, and there's no point even trying to reason with them. It's in this same story we see the Doctor actually show some semblance of compassion to Dalek Sec, who gets murdered by his own subordinates after being deemed impure. The execution in this story is a bit cack-handed, but the core concept, the Doctor reconsidering if he himself can exhibit hope for the Dalek race, is interesting. We also get this key line.
But we must remain pure. No, Dalek they. Our purity has brought us to extinction.
More on that in a bit. The Tenant Doctor battles them one more time when he faces Davros in the season 4 finale of The Stolen Earth Journey's End. His relationship to Davros is steeped in the atrocities of the Time War, and the pair now have a bond of mutual survivor's guilt. We even see the Doctor offer to save him. By the time we get to Victory of the Daleks in the Moffat era, the audience has seen a few different sides to the Doctor-Dalek interplay, but his anger against them has remained a constant. This is honoured in the episode. The plot goes as follows. The 11th Doctor and Amy land in Churchill's war-torn Britain to find he has new allies. Referring to themselves as Ironsides, the Daleks are posing as man-made robots happy to help the Allied forces repel the Nazis. The Doctor can't get them to crack or break the facade, and then he blows up at them.
Stop this! What are you doing here? What do you want?
We seek only to help you.
To do what?
To win the war.
Really? Which war?
I do not understand.
This war against the Nazis or your war? The war against the rest of the universe? The war against all life forms that are not Dalek?
I do not understand. I am your soldier.
Oh, yeah.
Not since the 9th Doctor's outburst all the way back in Dalek have we seen this kind of reaction. It doubles down on all the episodes we've seen up until this point. We've seen shades of rage, ignorance, and perhaps even a bit of compassion, but the idea that the Daleks might try to deny their part to play in his pain is something he will not tolerate.
Now, come on! Fight back! You want... No, you do. I must protest. What are you waiting for? Look, you hate me. You want to kill me. Well, go on. Kill me. Kill me!
Sir, be careful!
Please desist from striking me. I am your soldier.
You are my enemy! And I am yours! You are everything I despise. The worst thing in all creation. I've defeated you time and time again. I've defeated you. I sent you back into the void. I saved the whole of reality from you. I am the Doctor. And you are the Daleks.
We find out that the Daleks wanted the Doctor to spew all this vitriol as evidence that they still hold the essential essence of what a Dalek is, so that in turn they can be recognised by the progenitor device. This is also the first confirmation on the part of the Daleks that they know his feelings about the Time War are very much still an open wound, and something they can manipulate. Once again, at the denouement of the episode, we see the Doctor fail to finish them off once and for all, continuing the running theme of the Daleks as villains clinging to life and desperate to keep their warmonging culture alive. And then, that's it. All that characterisation kind of falls by the wayside. In every subsequent appearance, the Daleks are treated just like any other villain. It's not a big deal for the Doctor to face them. He doesn't seem to have any kind of reaction to them still operating or prospering. Remember that Dalek sect line? Yeah. Well, now there's a Dalek parliament, thousands of them exist, they own their own asylum, and they apparently have a successful array of death camps, which the Doctor hears about, and similarly has no reaction to.
She's in a Dalek prison camp. They say you can help.
Do they?
Dalek was undeniably onto something, but the idea that the Daleks will always destroy themselves and must change if they are to survive is no longer prevalent. The tone of their appearances is way more romp-heavy, and he even starts busting out jokes in front of them.
Sorry, what? It's me, playing the triangle.
Now, in theory, there's nothing wrong with the Doctor's attitude and opinion towards the Daleks changing. After all, the post-Time War Rage Against the Daleks Doctor was a new addition to the show in 2005. It's okay to add new dimensions and try new things with the Doctor-Dalek relationship. The problem with the Doctor's laissez-faire attitude towards the Daleks is that there's no impetus for him to feel this way. He goes from bitter and enraged about them to just kind of being okay with them having these death camps and parliaments set up. How is this Doctor okay with Dalek death camps 2 seasons later? Moreover, between Victory of the Daleks and this scene in Asylum of the Daleks, he's encountered exactly one Dalek each briefly, exactly 2 times. Very briefly. So why has this change occurred? Yes, he's shown aforementioned moments of compassion, but they were just that, moments. There was no arc there, no question whether or not the Doctor would suddenly drop all his feelings towards them in a flash. The anger remained right until season 5. It's just lazy. Is there an arc that I'm missing that explains this erratic change in the Doctor's behaviour? There's a few ways that this change could have felt more natural to the character, arguably woven into the show, but none of it comes in the right order.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
In The Beast Below, he refers to the Time War as
Long story, there was a bad day, bad stuff happened. And you know what, I'd love to forget it all, every last bit of it. But I don't. Not ever.
Indicating that maybe he's moved on. So at a stretch, this could explain a bit more apathy towards them, except in the very next episode, he's doing this. So that doesn't work. And then in the 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor, the Time Lord manages to undestroy Gallifrey for reasons. The long and short of it is that Gallifrey's back, so maybe this can kind of explain some forgiveness towards the Daleks, except he was called the death camps a full 13 episodes ago, when Gallifrey was still destroyed and he was still, to his mind, forced into an impossible situation to pull the trigger. So that doesn't work either. And then we have Into the Dalek. Here the Doctor refuses to believe that there can be such a thing as a good Dalek, hinting at some semblance to his Davies era Victory of the Daleks characterisation, which is already contradictory to the last season, but f*** it, let's just go with it. And then he believes that there can be such a thing as a good Dalek, momentarily. The episode ends with Rusty, a newly created, morally grey Dalek, teleporting into the unknown. And we don't see him again until Capaldi's final episode, where they are shown to have a working rapport. This is the closest we get to some kind of change to explain away his rage against the Daleks, and even then it's contradictory to what we've seen before, and chronologically, it just doesn't make sense. If Into the Dalek had come before the era where the Doctor was apathetic towards them, maybe this could have worked. I say maybe, because no matter how you cut this, it's a tough pill to swallow. I find it baffling that Moffat said this regarding the Doctor's genocide of Gallifrey. So Moffat can't get his head around the idea of the Doctor ending the Time War, but he can get behind this.
She's in a Dalek prison camp. She's in a Dalek prison camp. She's in a Dalek prison camp.
How would the Doctor allow this? It flies in the face of everything he stands for. If this moment occurred in Victory of the Daleks, he'd hop back in his TARDIS immediately and destroy the Parliament and the death camps, and he wouldn't stop until none of them are left standing. Moffat's treatment of the Daleks extends to most of the Doctor's rogues gallery. There's a distinct lack of ceremony to seeing the show's legacy villains. The Davies era went to great lengths to make bringing back an old villainous race a big deal, and even in stories that don't quite hit the mark, like the two-parter The Sontaran Stratagem The Poisoned Sky, there's a heaping helping of mystery and suspense built up in seeing the eponymous aliens make an appearance. This goes for the Cybermen, the Master, and most of all the Daleks. But in the Moffat era, they just kind of pop up. It's cool to see them cameo all together in the Pandorica Opens, but that gets old fast in subsequent stories. By time of the Doctor, seeing all the rogues together just feels like a joke. The threat has all but been dissolved. And that's before we even get to see things like the Paternoster gang, who completely nerfed the notion of the Sontarans or Silurians as threatening. Whilst it's nice to see morally ambiguous, even heroic versions of classic monsters, thereby demystifying the notion of them as monsters, it shouldn't come at the expense of destroying their credibility altogether. The Master, or Missy, is the one antagonist that is suitably given some hype during Moffat's reign, slowly teasing her before a full-blown reveal in a finale which keeps her as the narrative focus. But even on that note, she's painfully underused in her sole appearance in Series 9's opening story, as is Davros. Moffat's handling of the Daleks seems systemic of his need to constantly build his own canon into the show. It's no secret he seems immensely proud of creations like the Weeping Angels or the Silence, and that's fine, they're cool ideas for the most part. But if you're going to focus on new concepts, don't drag up the old established lore just to make quick buck cameos or punchlines. Still, I'm sure that's something that might change with his next season. Oh, he's gone. Never mind. Here's to hoping oncoming showrunner Chris Chibnall handles the Daleks with a bit more fervour and re-establishes them as the Doctor's #1 bad guys.